Hey, hi everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of now the newly named Facebook Live group. The new name I'm excited to share is going to be called the Fitness and Fat Loss Secrets Facebook Live. And what it's all about is this. So the big question out there is this: how do we lose weight while still feeling great without cheating by taking dangerous supplements and or drugs or doing dangerous surgeries that could really hurt us? And how do we sort through all the confusing information out there that's out there when it comes how to eat and or exercise for fat loss? So that's the big question. This Facebook Live each week will give you the answers, all right? So that said, let's get rolling. We have some really great questions out there. And if you are tuning in right now, what I want you to do is to like and share this. The other thing I want you to do is to, in the comments, if you have questions, I want you to ask them to us just below. And we'll answer them. Either we'll answer them live today, or I'll answer them in the comment section just below this video, okay? So let's get rolling. And so again, just the format of this thing is, for the most part, I'm not knowing the questions. Couple of questions that are maybe today I heard, but I'm not prepared. I want to take these questions like off the cuff, and I want to answer them the very best way that I know how, so that you out there can get the results that you want for, when it comes to like how to lose weight, right? So.
Perfect, yes. So it's been kind of cool. We've been getting questions already from the last week's video. People have been hearing about what's been going on, and it's cool to answer real questions from members. We know that that's going to be the best value for everyone out there too then. So one of the questions that came up to Kelly this last week was around protein. It's a wide topic, obviously. The three kind of questions that can come up is how much, when to have, and what kind of protein, because it's in everything. So if you can kind of give a bird's eye perspective, or let your mind kind of go off on what the average member should be informed of around protein.
Yeah, really great question. So, and the way to answer that is a couple of different things I want you guys to think about when it comes to how much protein should you eat, right? And the question, you have to start with a more basic question, which is how many calories should you eat? So when it comes to calories, there's a couple of more sophisticated equations out there for how to calculate how many calories one should eat. But the easiest way that I like to do it, and a great place to start, is simply to take the weight that you're at and add a 0 behind it. So for example, if you weigh, we'll call it 200 pounds, the way that you figure out your, hey Jonathan, and hey Mark, welcome guys. If you guys have questions, ask them below. And the other thing, if you would, please like and share what we're doing today. I would really appreciate it. So the question right now is, how much protein should you eat? And so what we're talking about is, first you got to know how many calories. And so we're going to assume if you're a 200-pound person, what you want to do is you just simply add a 0 behind whatever weight you are, and that's about how many calories you eat. If you're a 150-pound person, you should add a 0, and you should eat about 1,500 calories, right? So you guys get the idea there. Simple. So the next thing you want to do then is, as a general rule, you want to think about how many calories from protein, how many calories from fat, and how many calories from carbohydrates you want to eat. And the first answer would be this, that you want to start with taking between 30 and 40% of your calories should be from protein. That's a great starting place, okay? And so if you are the 200-pound person out there, you add the 0, so we have 2,000 calories. And then if you multiply that 2,000 calories times 30%, you're gonna get about 600 calories you need from protein. And if you multiply that number times 40%, you're gonna get about 800 calories you need from protein. And then what you do from there to figure out, if you're trying to figure out grams, because a lot of times people want to know how many grams of protein should I eat. So you have to divide that number by 4, because there's 4 calories to every gram of protein. And so for the 6, I don't have my calculator here to do the quick math. You have to do the math on that at home. But so if you take 600 and divide that by 4, you'll get the grams of protein you need to eat. And if you divide 800 by 4, that will give you the range, right? So that gives you 30 to 40% of your calories in grams of protein per day, okay? So that's what you want to do. That's a great starting place, by the way. So like,
could you I mean, it's even to my mind that it sounds kind of confusing, but it makes a lot of sense. That there's a lot of science behind it. What's something that's really common protein meal, and take it through that kind of scenario. So like, let's say like they're gonna have chicken with vegetables.
Well, let's do this. Let's take your dinner from last night.
Yep.
What was your dinner? So we can like talk
about it. I had tuna with broccoli, and I put olive oil on it as well. So
tuna with broccoli and olive oil. Mm-hmm. So that would be a meal. No carbohydrates. So you didn't have like not in a sandwich, right? And this was like a tuna steak or like tuna fish out of a can.
Tuna steak.
Tuna steak. Yeah. So tuna steak, and then you had broccoli. You said.
Yeah. And full bag of steamed broccoli. Yep.
Okay. So this is a meal for one that excludes carbohydrates, right? So like as a general, good place to start for a lot of people would be to have a mix of protein, fats, and carbs. You know a little bit more about yourself. You're a little more dialed in with what works best for you for what you're going after. Mm-hmm. But if you're just starting out there and you're trying to get a good baseline established, what I would do with that meal is I would want to add some kind of a healthy carbohydrate to that meal. And when you're thinking it, say for you, are you roughly 200 pounds?
Yeah, very close.
So this kind of works about
pretty much.
200.
Yeah.
So like you would want about 600 or 800 calories of tuna. So the only way you could know that is like when you look at the tuna, you'd have to weigh it, or if it came out of a package, you would see the package, and the package would tell you how many calories it is and how many servings there were in the package, right? So then you could see, if your serving was roughly, as a general rule, the serving of protein should be like a deck of cards, or if you take like the square of your hand here, take the square of your hand and then add that about a ½ inch thick. That's roughly, to give you a good starting point, about how much protein you should have.
Gotcha. So I know there's about 40 grams in that tuna.
Yeah.
And the calories,
so
I'm kind of
40 times 4 would be, so you're getting almost all your calories were coming from
from the
protein, right?
Yeah.
So as a general, that's going to be higher than what most of you out there are going to want to start at.
Yep.
So you'd want to shrink the protein down a bit. Mm-hmm. You'd want to increase the carbohydrate. When I say carbohydrate, in this case, I'm talking about a starchy carbohydrate. Could be, if we're talking healthiest choices, sweet potato, brown rice, quinoa, then from there, a potato. You get the idea. Those kind of choices added to that meal would be the best starting spot. When it comes to good, anyway, does that answer the question? Good about how much protein you should have?
It definitely does.
And for you out there, hi Shannon, welcome. Nice to see you. So we're talking about how much protein one should have right now. And if you have any questions, what I want you to do is to just ask them in the comment section below, and I'll get to them either during this live, Facebook Live, or I'll answer them below in the comment section, all right? Cool.
So that's that's for protein, that makes a lot of sense. You just be doing the math to figure out for whatever your own diet is, for sure.
That's right.
So just a little bit of quick action, figure it out, and once you've got that knowledge, it's going to be yours for the rest of your life. This is knowledge that I'm assuming doesn't change over the course of your lifetime.
The knowledge doesn't change. What does change is we all are metabolically unique. And so when it comes to dieting, because it can be really confusing, really overwhelming, right? And that's why we're here to answer your questions. I want you all to know that you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, right? So, for example, here at Altman Fitness, we have basically 3 different ways that we advise people to eat. One is a way that we include protein with carbs, and we exclude fat, and that's a really good way for fat loss to eat. And another way we teach people to eat is to have protein with vegetables and no starchy carbs, and include fat. That's another way to eat to lose weight. And then there's the third way, which is a combination. And the best way that we work with people there is to have people go through what's called a metabolic typing test. and in a metabolic typing test, it will give you a starting custom ratio that's right for you out there, so that when you are thinking about how to eat for you, so that, so when you're eating for you, that you get the result you're after, but also that you can feel really good, right? Because I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have tried to eat a certain way, a way that we'll call restrictive for you. It might be eating protein, fat, and vegetables, and you're no carb. This is really popular right now, right? Whether it's the keto diet or the Atkins diet of the past, or maybe you've tried out our Fit in 30 program or some other program where you since you're eliminating carbs, paleo style eating. There are a lot of popular diet plans right now that exclude carbohydrates. And for a certain amount of people, that's exactly the right thing to do. There's another part of the population that's the opposite thing to do. So some people, when they eat that way, will feel really good and get a great result. Some people get a great result and feel terrible. And so then they feel like, it's not something they can sustain. Yeah. So, but that said, the question really was how much protein should you eat, and roughly what you want to do, just to answer that really quickly one more time, is you take your body weight you are right now, you add a 0. So if you're 200 pounds, you add a 0. So you would eat 2,000 calories. And then you want to eat 30 to 40% of your calories from protein. So that means you're going to take 0.3 times 2,000 and 0.4 times 2,000, and you're going to get a range. And in this case, it's 600 to 800 calories of protein. And if you want the grams, you divide that number by 4. So you divide your 600 or 800 by 4, and that will tell you how much protein. Cool?
Pretty straightforward and simple.
Pretty straightforward. That's the place
right
to start.
Good.
And then from there, if you're feeling stuck, that's when you come and ask a pro like us, like personally, like ask, or right here, you can ask your question right here, and I'll answer specifically for you, so you can know just exactly what to eat.
So any questions that build from that come out of your mind, like don't be shy to comment that in the comments.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So good. A little bit of change of direction here. I just heard this one from Christian. So
Nice.
One of our trainers that get to see probably the most people here. He has a question that came up in a class recently. Is there's been a recurring injury, let's say, it was around the knee specifically, that's just been bothering a member over time, and kind of not really getting much better, not really getting much worse. But it's an injury that she kind of had a tentative mindset towards when she's working out. So it's kind of affecting her whole workout because she's worried about a uncomfortable pain that doesn't feel like it's too bad, doesn't feel like it's, but it is definitely a pain of some sort. So is there generic rules of thumb for injuries like that to go about the workout? Is kind of a question that arose from that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. There is. So if you're out there, and as most of us, while we're working out, at one point or another, we're all going to experience some kind of a joint pain or a muscle ache or an injury of some sort. It's like all of us. And so you ask, is there a generic way to deal with that? And the most generic way is it's definitely a generic way to deal with that. And the generic way is this: whatever doesn't hurt is what you should do. And if something does hurt, that's what you should not do. That's the most generic answer I can give to you. That's listening to your body. And our bodies are really smart, and if we listen when it comes to pain at a joint, just do what does not hurt. That's the first place to start. From there, when it comes specifically to, like in this person's case, sound like they had a knee pain that's not like fully eliminating, but that's there, it's talking to them and they're noticing it for sure. So a couple things you want to do is, for one, you want to talk to your trainer that's leading your class, or talk to an expert. If you're not here with us at Altman Fitness and you're out at some other gym, talk to an expert, either a physical therapist, a chiropractor, or a knowledgeable trainer about the injury. and what you want to do is you want to make sure first that you're able, with any kind of an injury, you want to first be able to reestablish full range of motion in that joint. So if you're experiencing pain around the knee, the first thing you want to do is you want to do any exercises around the knee unloaded. That means you're not picking up weight, you're not picking up bands, you're not using any resistance, and you want to make sure that you can do whatever exercises in a full range of motion first. So if you're doing a lunge, for example, you want to make sure that have a trainer or a therapist or a chiropractor watch you and make sure that your form is really on point, right? There's some specific things, looking at the knee, making sure that it stays in line when you look down, so if you're looking down right at your knee right now, maybe I can stand and show you a little bit. I don't know if you can see, you can kind of see, but if you're looking at my knee right here, as it points down, what I want to see is that my knee, from my hip to my knee, that if I drew a line down here, that would end up between my big and little toes. And what happens a lot of times is this kind of falls inside and it would point inside of my knee. And so then a lot of times you end up with some pain in here. So just having someone watch you, or you can watch yourself in a mirror, making sure that your alignment is good when you're doing, whether it's squatting and or lunging or variations of those exercises. Have someone watch you, make sure everything is lined up. And then once you're lined up, the next step is then again establishing that full range of motion. So we'll talk about a lunge, go through the full range of motion where you're going down to nearly touching the floor or touching the floor just barely, and then all the way back up to where you're straight again. And then once you can achieve that, what you want to do is incrementally, and when I say incrementally, about maybe a 10% increase in weight each time. So the first day, maybe you're going to pick up 5s, and while they might feel really light, anytime you have an injury, you have to see not only what you can do, but you have to see how you're going to recover from what you do, right? So, and the recovery takes about 48 hours. So you gotta, hey Kat, what's up? Nice to see you. When you're trying to reestablish after an injury, you gotta move up in slow increments. Even without an injury, you wanna, that same rule would apply. That first it's full range of motion, and then you start strengthening the joint by incrementally raising yourself up a little bit at a time. And it's not, remember, it's not about what you can do at that moment, but it's how you recover from what you did. Say if like your exercise today, it's how you recover over the next day or two from what you did today. All right? So
yeah, that's it's right information that even you answered some things that when I heard the question originally, you actually modified a lunge, and that's what he actually was looking for too. So you already answered the question I was going to follow up with. And also there's some things there that I didn't really realize too, is because I think it's very common to, when you're battling an injury like that, and I've seen some people that are working on knee injuries, is that day they feel like it's, oh, I can do it. I made the corrections. Let's put some weight on it right away. And that hearing that incremental, and hearing that the recovery is what we need to be focusing on, even though you won't be feeling it in the workout because you're warmed up, you're ready to go. That's pretty important to have kind of that patience when it comes to recovering with something like that. Is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. So again, just to reiterate, if you have an injury or something that's bugging you, you first want to have someone watch your form and make sure your form is really on point. Then it's going through the full range of motion of that exercise, and then it's slowly adding weight and then seeing how you recover from doing the exercise so that you can make sure you recover well. That's one of the mistakes people make more than any other, is once you come back from an injury or just maybe feel good on a day after you've warmed up, the body, once it's warmed up, especially as you get older, once it's warmed up, it feels, for the most part, it can feel really, really good. So it can fool you into thinking they can jump right back into the weights you were doing, and then what happens is you end up with a re-injury. Along those lines, something I want to share with you guys is when it comes to muscle, if you have a muscle injury, muscles generally take about 6 weeks to repair themselves. Or you break a bone, a broken bone takes about 6 weeks. But if you injure a ligament or a tendon, or you have tendinitis, you've been labeled with that from a therapist or a doctor, you have to know that it takes about 12 weeks. So when you're starting your workouts again and you've had tendinitis, you got to know that it takes about 12 weeks for your ligaments and tendons to get strong. They have very poor blood supply, and because of that poor blood supply, they just don't heal as fast. So you got to give your body a chance. The muscles are going to get strong fast, but the problem is the muscle then connects to the tendon that connects to the bone, and that tendon that's connecting to the bone, it's not going to heal as fast as the muscle did. So if you have a muscle injury, sometimes you can end up with tendinitis just because you're increasing your weights too fast, where then you start irritating the tendon that's connected to the bone, and that would be the definition of tendinitis. Like, you have inflammation of the tendon, which is what tendinitis means. So just, you have to be patient. Keep, the other thing, so I say be patient, but really it's the very fastest way for you to go from, if you do have an injury, it's the fastest way to go from where you are to get back to where you want to be. right? Because if you exercise with an injury and you keep re-irritating the same thing over and over, you can be irritating for a year or more, and it's really annoying. Where the longest that it should take would be 3 months. As long as any injury pretty much any injury, there's some exceptions, but for most injuries, I should say, about 3 months would be the longest. So if you just kind of keep that, like a 3 months and a year span is not that much, and 3 years in your life is like nothing. It's just a blink. So just know that. Like keep your. And so if you say to yourself, not to be patient, but really like, how can I? If you ask the question, how can I get back to where I want to go the fastest? You just have to know the fastest way back is to establish range of motion, then increment at a time, reestablish the weight.
Which is easy said.
Easy said. You got to be mental giants and keep the perspective of what you're really after, right? And I think if you frame it in the way that, how can I get back the fastest? And then when you know, I'm telling you, like this is the fastest way back. You just have then you buy into that and then move forward so you get there the fastest.
Right.
Yeah. Something like our brains could play tricks on us and think the fastest way is to kind of cheat and increase the weights faster, but almost every time that's the recipe for bad news and re-injury, which is a setback, which makes it really slow and more irritating and nasty. So you don't want that. Yeah. Cool.
Very good answer.
Hey Kat, if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment section below. If I don't get to them on the Facebook Live section, I'll either answer them in the comment section or I'll save the question for next week. All right? Cool. Hi, Kaki. Nice to see you.
Good, good. So as far as time goes, do you want to split to
Hi, Debbie.
members? As far as time goes for...
Yes. So I'm going to answer... I'll answer one more question.
Okay.
So, like, just so all you guys know right now, I am recording this in 2 different places right now. I'm recording on the Altman Fitness page right there, and I'm recording on the Altman Bootcamp page right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to answer one more question for everybody that's over here in the Altman Fitness page, and then I'll say goodbye to you guys, and I'm going to answer some more questions for our members. Okay? So we'll do that. So we'll do one more question today for everybody, and then I'll say goodbye, and then we'll move over to the Altman Bootcamp page.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Question that just came up with a member that just finished a class here at Altman. Had to do, it was by Ann. She was very, there's more than a few questions. And the one that she asked, I think a lot of people can relate to, is what time should my last meal be? And she's working on fitness, maybe more maintenance and fat loss at the same time, but maybe more so maintenance. Maybe you can answer for both.
Sure. So the question is, just to reiterate, so make sure I have it straight.
Yes.
It's if I eat. We'll say it one more time.
What should my last meal be?
So the last meal of the day. So maybe another way to say it is, before going to bed, how much time should you leave before going to bed?
Yep.
That might be the better way to answer, because some people might be going to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and some people might not be going to bed till 11 o'clock.
Right.
So instead of saying like a time, I'll talk about it in terms of before bed. Okay? So I'm assuming all of you out there, I'm going to answer this question as it relates to you're trying to lose weight and or maintain weight loss that you've already lost. So as a general rule, what you'll find in most of the research will suggest eating 2 to 3 hours before bed should be the last meal of your day. And the basic reason for that is, you just kind of think about this from a logical standpoint. If you take in calories right before bed, and then you immediately lay down and go to sleep, what do you think your body's going to do with the calories, right? What's going to happen is you're going to store those calories away and store them as fat. And then we all know once we have some fat stored in our body, it's not exactly easy to access that fat and burn it off, right? We can go exercise and we're not necessarily tapping into those fat stores. So to answer that question would be about 3 hours. That's the easy way to think about it, about 3 hours before bed. Make it your last meal. The other way I'll say it like this, because I think this is impactful. At one point I studied sumo wrestlers. Like sumo wrestlers do the opposite of what most of us do in terms of like gaining weight or losing weight, right? Sumo wrestlers study how can they add the most weight to their body in the shortest amount of time. These guys are trying to get to 400, 500, 600, 700 pounds, and they want to do it in the shortest time. So what they do is they literally eat a great big meal, and then guess what? Yep, they lay down, they try to go to sleep. So We don't want to be sumo wrestlers. I don't think. Unless you're a sumo wrestler watching, then you do. But if you want to gain the most weight, eat and then go to sleep. Right? But I'm assuming most of you are not. Probably all of you are not. So you want to keep about 3 hours before eating your last meal and then going to bed.
Makes a ton of sense.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
just knowing that is good certainty to know. Like,
Yes.
that's what the rule is.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so that said, I think what we'll do now is we'll wrap up here on the Altman Fitness page, and I'll be sticking with you guys here on the Altman Bootcamp page. And what I want to say to you guys that are watching on the Altman Fitness page, for one, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to be doing this every single week at 10:45, as long as it keeps going well. And if you weren't here at the beginning, I want to let you know that this is now named the Fitness and Fat Loss Secrets Facebook Live. And the purpose, again, is this. I want to answer this big question. How do we lose weight while still feeling great without cheating by taking dangerous supplements and or drugs and or undergoing surgeries that could really hurt us? And how do we sort through all the confusing information out there when it comes to how to exercise for fat loss and or eat for fat loss? That is the big questions on this Facebook Live is where you're gonna get the answers, all right? So I'm glad you tune in each week at 10:45 on Wednesdays. If you can't attend live, then leave your questions in the comment section. I will answer them either in the comment section or I'll carry the question over to the next week and get that question answered for you so you can get the results that you want out there when it comes to getting more fit and losing weight. The other thing for you guys out there at Altman Fitness, if you're not yet one of our members, we would love to have you come and try us out. Just after this video is done, I'll be posting a link for 3 free afterburn workouts. Come and join us. We'd love to see you and we can't wait to meet you. Until then, we'll talk soon. Bye to you guys there. Stay tuned over here. I'm going to be answering a really cool question. The question is going to be about the keto diet. It's really popular. Everybody's asking about it. So I'm going to be answering that to all you members here in just 1 second. Bye for now. We'll talk soon, guys.